This is not just a building. It's a living creature. Its walls breathe, its floors have a heartbeat, and behind the last door, there is hunger. Tenants come, and then they vanish, leaving nothing behind as if they never existed. At midnight, the knocking begins. First a faint tap-tap, then whispers, and finally a voice calling your name. Whoever hears it moves closer to the door, and once they do, they never return. But what happened to our companion inside? That's where the real story begins. This was just a trailer. The cheap apartment. Ethan had been desperate. Rent in the city had climbed so high that he'd nearly given up on the idea of living alone. That's when he found Ravenwood Apartments. The ad seemed too good to be true. Spacious, utilities included, low rent. When he first stepped into the building, a chill ran down his spine. The place looked old, faded wallpaper, yellowed lights, the faint smell of mildew in the air. Yet it was quiet, and for Ethan, quiet meant affordable peace. The landlord, Mr. Graham, greeted him with a smile that didn't quite touch his pale eyes. "Rules are simple," he said. "No loud music, keep the halls clear," and his voice dropped. "Never open the door at the end of the hallway, especially not after midnight." Ethan blinked. "What's in there?" Mr. Graham's lips curved faintly. "Nothing you want to meet." Ethan laughed nervously, assuming it was some joke. But that night, as he unpacked boxes in his new apartment, he heard it. Knock, knock, knock. The sound came faintly from inside his closet. At first, Ethan convinced himself it was pipes, or maybe his imagination. But the knocks came again the next night, and the night after. Sometimes they were slow, sometimes frantic. And worse, he began to hear whispers, words he couldn't understand, slithering through the silence of his room. On the fourth night, when he leaned close to the closet, the whisper became clear. "Let us out." Ethan staggered back, heart hammering. He didn't sleep that night. The next day, in the stairwell, he met Claire, a young woman from the floor above. She had dark circles under her eyes, as though she hadn't slept in weeks. "You've heard it, haven't you?" she asked suddenly. Ethan froze. "The knocking?" Claire nodded grimly. "It doesn't stop. Not unless..." She lowered her voice. "Not unless it gets what it wants." Ethan frowned. "And what's that?" Her eyes darted toward the forbidden door at the end of the hall. "You don't want to know." Claire eventually told Ethan the truth, or at least her version of it. Her grandmother had once lived here. She had warned Claire about the building before she passed away, whispering that Ravenwood wasn't just an apartment, it was a mouth, a living thing that fed on the people inside. The forbidden door, Claire said, was no ordinary door. It was part of the creature itself, a ribcage holding back whatever writhed within. "When people disappear," Claire whispered, "no one questions it. The landlord covers it up. He feeds the building. He's its caretaker." Ethan wanted to laugh it off, but the more he thought about Mr. Graham's pale stare, the less funny it seemed. That night, the knocking was louder than ever. His closet rattled as if something inside was desperate to break free. And then he heard his mother's voice. "Ethan, let me out, please." Ethan froze. His mother had died years ago. By now, Ethan couldn't deny it. The building was alive. The door wasn't just wood, it pulsed faintly beneath his touch, like a heartbeat. Claire had been preparing for this. She produced an old sheet of paper covered in Latin prayers and strange symbols, something her grandmother had written. "If we pin this to the door and chant, it should hold it back," she said. Together, they went to the hallway at midnight. The air was freezing, their breaths visible. The forbidden door shuddered violently, as though something behind it was furious. Claire pressed the paper against it, chanting in a trembling voice. Ethan threw his weight against the door, which was bulging outward as though hundreds of arms were pressing from inside. The whispers screamed, overlapping into madness. Ethan could almost see faces forming in the wood, twisted, desperate, hungry. For one moment, the ritual seemed to work. The door weakened, the voices faltered. But then, Mr. Graham appeared at the end of the hallway. "You shouldn't be doing that," he said calmly, his voice carrying strange echoes. His eyes glowed faintly in the flickering light. "You're feeding it!" Ethan shouted. Mr. Graham tilted his head. "It must feed. That is the order. I give it tenants. It spares me." With a flick of his hand, the paper Claire held burst into flames. The door roared. It exploded outward, revealing a writhing black mass of arms, mouths, and eyes. The darkness surged forward, filling the hallway like a tidal wave. Ethan screamed as it wrapped around him. Ethan felt it clawing into him, through his skin, into his bones. His memories tore apart like paper. He saw flashes of his childhood, his parents, his laughter, all consumed by the thing. Claire tried to pull him back, screaming his name, but it was too late. The darkness swallowed him whole. When the hallway cleared, Ethan was gone. Only silence remained. Claire woke later on her couch as if she had blacked out. For a moment, she thought it was a nightmare, until she realized Ethan's apartment was empty. His belongings, his name, gone, as though he had never existed. Shaking, she crept into the hallway. The forbidden door was there, quiet once more. She stood frozen until she heard it. Knock! Knock! This time, she knew whose hand was knocking. Weeks later, a new tenant arrived at Ravenwood. Mr. Graham handed over the keys with his usual polite smile. Rent's cheap, utilities included. Just remember one rule. He gestured down the hallway, his pale eyes glimmering. Never answer the knocking after midnight. And from behind the forbidden door, faintly, knock, 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 word count, 5 gels 15.